Welcome to our video newsletter, our little blog for November. And these are, of course, difficult days. It's hard to avoid thinking and talking about all that's happening in the outside world. And it sort of raises an issue which is really quite important for everyone. How do we respond? Are we just victims of what goes on? Are we helpless observers? Or in unity, especially in our fellowship, what do we do? How do we respond? How do we affirm who we are and what we are and what we believe? And it's just a question, Kimerie, really, isn't it? It's just a question as to how we can celebrate spirit in times of difficulty.
Celebrate is a hard word to put in connotation with that energy that you're sharing, really, and I don't know that it's the best word that we could use, but as Dorian Davenport and Unity ministers going back have said time after time, it's about keeping the high watch. It's about keeping our thoughts above the line and knowing the truth that who we all are, wherever we are divine and beloved and equal and precious, as is all of life on this planet, and holding that energy that within every single one of us is a beautiful being that to some degree or other has got lost in the journey of separation. So, as you say, for us in Unity, it's about holding that high watch. It's about tuning in. It's about knowing Father and I are one, God and I are one. Excuse me, Steve. So I'm doing it that I put my feet flat on the floor, that I feel a sense of connection to the earth, to the energy physically that holds us, but also opening up to connect with the energy that spiritually holds us and standing in that truth. And my word lately has been strength. It really has been standing in that strength so that no matter what, I've got that connection rooted to the earth energy, open to receive all that is here as a spiritual energy, and then responding from there. So it's prayer, first and foremost in Unity. We always have prayer, and I recommend everybody to take time every day to be still, to get centered, to feel that connection, to be open to all that is good that is here, and center ourselves in that energy. And then we can, at the very least, and it's not least at all, but we can know that peace. We can hold that energy of peace and wisdom for the leaders and all that's going on, and comfort and support for all those that are hurting, so much hurt and pain and suffering. It really is holding that, but not just at a they're out there experience, but honoring when we don't feel peaceful, when we feel overwhelmed, when we feel lost and isolated and alone, when we feel hurt that somebody is doing something to us that we don't like, when feelings of resentment, revenge, war, hatred, and it only needs to be a little thought, but Jesus talked about it. All we need to have is the thought of it, and we're in the same energy. So it's honoring when we are stuck in that and getting re-centered for ourselves so that we can allow our own wounds to be healed, our own trauma. We've all got trauma. Really being centered to let that spirit energy flow. It's the spirit within that does the healing. But we have to let it work. We stop it or we allow it. So it really is a practice, a daily practice of coming back. This is the truth. This is the truth. And sometimes we'll respond with comfort and love. Sometimes we'll respond with joy and happiness. A child's playing and we're having fun with the child.
As I think I've told you this story before. It's something I read in the newspaper a number of months ago. In fact, it's years ago, that happened in Syria. We all remember the dreadful things that went on in Syria and the bombings, just as the bombings are going on now in the Gaza Strip. And there was a Syrian person caught up in this terrible series of events, and there was an explosion just down the road, as it were, from him. And he was a cellist. That's what he did. He played the cello. So he thought to himself, what do I do? What can I do? What can I do in this situation? And he took out his cello from the case and he walked down the road and he sat amongst the ruins and played the cello. And that story has always remained with me as a sort of talisman. Keep the high watch. That was his high watch. not to play just a kind of lament, but to play, to express himself, all that he was, good and bad, strong and weak,
all our feelings, yeah,
all the feelings.
And actually, that's the article title for me for this month, is what's mine to do in this, and that's the guide. What's mine to do? When we tune in, we can know in this moment, is it to be love? Is it to be peace? Is it to be strength? Is it to be an act of compassion? Is it to play with someone, lift the energy that way? What's mine to do in this moment? Part of that, what's mine to do, is allowing our trauma to be healed, our feelings and our overwhelm and the resentment and the rejection and the guilt and all that stuff that we do to ourselves, is to allow that just to be released and healed, and that spirit energy, the clean energy, the loving, wise energy to come through.
And there's one other little thing, and it just happened this morning, actually. I was listening to a talk by Jim Rosemergy just a few minutes ago, and it's a talk about spiritual awakening. And he told a little story about someone in America who was feeling the need for change, the need for renewal in his life. And he was sitting near the coast outside, and it was a foggy day apparently. And he was desperately searching to find some meaning in all that he was and all that was happening in his life. And he suddenly looked up, and there was a bald eagle, an American bald eagle, flying in the air. And he said their eyes met. His eyes met the eagle's eyes, and in that moment he felt transformed. And that was all about oneness. It's about connection. That when we look at the television and see all these dreadful things, we want to look away, and maybe we should look away. But ultimately, we are one.
Yeah. And it's finding ways to honor the connection in ourselves and then live it in the world. We have to live it in the world. We have to live our truth, not our trauma, not our pain, not our suffering. That needs to be released, but not by shooting it out at guns and bombs and war to another. And find that connection. Find that connection is what I talk about all the time, but it is a practice, and we start with ourselves. We start here.
Okay, well, we haven't, of course, answered anything. The questions remain, and the journey remains for all of us. But that's what we
be kind today. To yourself.
Be
kind to yourself. Be loving kindness, because when we can be kind to ourselves, we can be kind to those around us. That's the message. Be kind.
Okay, well, we'll see you again in a few weeks' time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.